So I don't have a script for this, I'm just going to be rambling on, but it shouldn't take that long anyway, it's pretty basic stuff. But basically, new beta changes for Firefly and the relics released in 2.3. A lot of it's good. One thing I think is kind of a dumb change, and we'll get to that here in a little bit, but might as well talk about all the Firefly changes first. A lot of it is just number changes, some good number changes for her, and some overall bad number changes for her as far as her raw damage that has nothing to do with break effect is concerned, which means that the idea of building her as a crit DPS is dead and buried, and she's now realistically purely a break effect DPS, which is what she was really supposed to be from the beginning, it seems. So this is probably the direction that they really needed to go into to actually make her a good unit, and she's definitely significantly better now for a couple reasons. She did get a couple changes to a couple of her Eidolons. E4, instead of being 2 instances of CC immunity during her ult state, is now just 50% effect res across the board in her ult state. You can see this as a buff or a nerf, just depends on how many times you get CC'd. It probably is more of a buff just because you're going to be in your ult state longer now, because another big change was that her ult is longer. It takes longer for her to leave her ult state. She also has even more speed in her ult, so she's going to be able to take more actions in her ult, and that's overall good because that's where she's doing all of her damage. So that makes sense. It's a good change. The other major changes come in her traces. Now, she before had a trace where after 2600 attack, for every 100 attack you had, you gained 6% break effect up to a max of 60% break effect, which was nice. You know, it was nice to have some bonus attack converted into break effect, but it wasn't really at a rate that was super enticing as far as building attack goes. And now this trace has just been, like, given steroids. It's just really good now. For starters, a really big part of it is that they knocked it down from 2600 where it starts to 1600. So every 100 attack after 1600 is now 10% increased break effect instead of 6, so that's pretty significant. And now it also has no cap to the amount of break effect it can actually get you, so you can build as much attack as you want, and you'll never cap out on the amount of break effect it will transfer into. So this is really good and means that you're gonna, I assume, be building attack body, speed boots, attack orb, and break effect rope, because that just seems like the simplest way to go about it. But hey, I'm not a theory crafter, I don't know, maybe there's some weird thing where numbers don't work, but that makes sense to me. Now, her other trace is the most significant change to her kit realistically. She's dropped the trace that gave her defense ignore for her break damage and instead just gives super break now instead, which is basically what people wanted. One of the things that people didn't like about the character was that she was tied to Harmony Trailblazer essentially in order to deal any significant damage outside of initial weakness break. And to be fair, Harmony Trailblazer is literally free, so it's probably the best unit to be tied to. But in the end, this is an all-in-all good thing, and it's good that she can do break damage outside of the actual weakness break without Harmony Trailblazer now. That being said, you're still going to want to run Harmony Trailblazer with Firefly, because Harmony Trailblazer gives 100% super break, she gives 50% super break, so you literally get 150% super break when doing both, because it does stack, so that's really, really good. So all in all, she's really just been piloted completely in the direction of being a break DPS now, huh? Pilot? Mech suit? You get it? Because she has a mech suit? No? Okay. But yeah, she's just a full-on break DPS now. Critfly is dead and buried, as it probably should be. This is the way to build the character. And for the most part, that's it. You know, her actual multipliers on her regular attacks and stuff took a hit because she's just more break-focused now and has no real investment in actually doing regular damage, and it's going to be entirely based on break effect. The only other change that I really want to talk about is the change to the 4-piece relic set, because I feel like that's worth mentioning. So, the new break effect relic set has been changed. Originally, its 4-piece effect essentially just gave you 18% defense ignore for break damage, which is universally really good for every break DPS in the game, even if you don't have Harmony Trailblazer and have no super break. Now, it still gives a chunk of defense ignore for regular break effect, but then locks an even larger chunk of defense ignore behind super break specifically. Now, I think this is a bad change. And why is that? Well, it's not just because I want to pull Boothill and Boothill doesn't actually have super break in his kit. I think this is just really restrictive for no good reason, and kind of locks anyone that wants to use this set optimally into running Harmony Trailblazer, which is, funnily enough, the thing people were upset about when it came to Firefly's base kit. So, if you really didn't like that, you shouldn't like this change either. It's also probably worth mentioning that now there isn't really any kind of 4-piece relic set that Boothill can actively utilize the full buffs of just with his kit alone. And regardless of the fact that he's still going to be a really good DPS, I do think that that's worth pointing out because it feels a little bad. It feels especially weird considering that the new 2-piece planar ornament set for Break Effect is specifically Firefly-centric, so you can't use that with Boothill either. So the fact that the new 2-piece ornaments are Firefly only and the new 4-piece set is not really optimally used by Boothill's kit unless you're using Harmony Trailblazer, which you totally still can, it's still a great option with Boothill. It just seems like this particular change doesn't really do anything good, in my opinion. It does buff Super Break more, but I don't think there's any real reason to buff Super Break more, because that's really just buffing Harmony Trailblazer, who is once again a free unit, but at the same time, it is seemingly locking anyone that really wants to run this 4-piece set optimally into always running Harmony Trailblazer until we get more supports that specifically list Super Break as something that they add to your team. All in all, the changes to Firefly's kit in the beta are excellent and exactly what she needed. It makes her be able to deal more consistent damage independent of Harmony Trailblazer while still maintaining him, slash her I guess, depending on which MC you picked, as their best-in-slot support. But I do really think that the change to the 4-piece Break Effect set was kinda stupid and unnecessary. And that's not even getting into what they did to the 4-piece Follow-Up Attack set. We don't even need to talk about that, but they murdered that set. That's just sad. So we'll have to see if anything else changes. Really, version 3 of the beta, from everyone I've talked to, is usually the version where they do any big changes, so probably don't expect anything, but there is a chance that they do alter the numbers maybe on the 4-piece set or change it back to just being regular Break Effect Defense Ignore instead of Super Break, but I don't know, it is what it is. The point is, it's still going to be Boothill's best set, and it's obviously Firefly's best set, and anyone that's running Harmony Trailblazer can still take advantage of the full effect of the set, as long as you have a bunch of Break Effect built on that character. So it's still a really good set. I don't know if it's worth farming, especially because the Follow-Up Attack set is now kind of bad on almost everyone. So, I don't know, do with that what you will. But yeah, that's about it. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you think these are good changes, bad changes, you want to know changes, more changes, every change. I have no idea.